Imagine you're a little kid. Your parents tell you to stay away from kids with blue eyes because they're bad. So you believe your parents. You're a little kid, your parents tell you something, you believe in them. You eventually run into kids with blue eyes, you eventually talk to them and interact with them and even play with them. And you realize that, wait a minute, kids with blue eyes really aren't that bad. They're just like I am. But you remember that your parents said kids with blue eyes are bad. So what you're experiencing is something called cognitive dissonance. You have two different cognitions, competing cognitions. One that tells you kids with blue eyes are bad. The other one that tells you kids with blue eyes aren't that bad. What do? Well, you have a couple choices. You could change your behavior, meaning that you could start playing with the kids and interacting with them more, or you could change your attitude. Now, unfortunately, because you're just a kid and you have to listen to your parents who tell you you cannot play with kids with blue eyes, you change your attitude. You change your attitude by insisting that kids with blue eyes are somehow bad. We tend to change our beliefs and our attitudes to match our behavior, as motivated by this drive called dissonance. We do this when we hold two conflicting cognitions. In 1959, a study was conducted by Leon Festinger and James Carlsmith. 71 students enrolled in an introductory psychology course at Stanford University participated in what was called, or at least advertised, as an experiment dealing with measurement of performance. The subjects were told that they might be asked a few questions at the end of the experiment in order just to help evaluate the experiments. Phase 1 of the experiment consisted of tasks. The subjects were brought into a room where they had a tray of wooden spools, and they had to move the spools from one tray to another tray, and then back again to the other tray. And if that weren't bad enough, then they had another task where they just turned things like 90 degrees and then turned them back. What the experimenters were trying to do is come up with the most boring task possible that nobody in their right mind could possibly find enjoyable. The experimenter tells the student that generally there are two different groups. In the other group, what somebody does, a confederate, is tells the student coming in to do the experiment how fun the tasks are and how great they are and exciting they are. Now this is where the real experiment diverges into three different groups. In the first control group, they simply tell them that little story about the confederate, how they tell them how exciting it is, and then they move them out of the room where they fill out an evaluation. Now the second and third groups get interesting. What the experimenter tells the people in the second and the third group is the same story. They say, look, really sorry, I'm embarrassed to ask you this, but the student that we have that normally tells the other student how exciting this experiment is, well, they couldn't make it. What we would love to do is have you fill that role for us and tell the other student coming in, which is actually a confederate, tell that student how exciting these tasks are and how great they are. Now, with the two different groups, in one group, they say, we'll give you $1 if you do this for us. The other group, they said, we'll give you $20 if you do this for us. Now, virtually all of the students agreed to this, with the exception of about 11 who, for various reasons, were excluded from the study. So we're down to 60 people, 20 in each group, 20 in the control group, 20 in the $1 condition, and 20 in the $20 condition. Do you think that the people who were paid more would be more excited about it and tend to really find it more exciting? Or do you think the people that were paid only $1 would find it more exciting? Well, after they finished telling the other student how exciting and fun the tasks were, they went into another room where they filled out an evaluation of the actual tasks that asked them how exciting did they really find the tasks. First, let's look at the control condition. Remember, the control group were the 20 students who didn't have to tell another student anything. They did not have to lie. So what they were doing is basically they were just reporting their true feelings about the experiment. On a scale from -5 being the worst ever to +5 being incredibly fun, they filled it out at an average of -0.45, so just below 0. Now what about the group in the $20 condition? This was the group of students that were paid $20 to lie, essentially. They had to tell the other student how fun and exciting they found it when they really didn't find the tasks fun or exciting at all. This group did not differ significantly from the control group in their ratings. On a scale from -5 to +5, they rated the tasks at -0.05, which is very close, a little bit better than the control group, but essentially the same. This group was said to experience no cognitive dissonance whatsoever. They didn't have two conflicting cognitions. They had one cognition that said that the task was incredibly boring, and they maintained that, and they were justifying their lie by the amount of money that they were getting paid. So now let's look at the $1 condition. Remember, the $1 condition were the students that were paid $1, that's it, just $1, to tell this lie that they really enjoyed the tasks. Well, on the scale from -5 to +5, they rated it plus 1.35. That's significantly greater than both of the groups. This could be explained with cognitive dissonance theory. Basically what was going on here was they had two different cognitions. The first cognition told them that the task was incredibly boring. The second cognition told them that they were telling somebody else that the task was incredibly fun and exciting. Well, they couldn't write that off as just getting paid for it, so what they did is they actually changed their attitude, which led to evening out that dissonance. Now, cognitive dissonance theory did not go unchallenged. It was only about 10 years later when self-perception theory came out as an alternative hypothesis to what is going on. Self-perception theory takes a more behaviorist approach and looks at the behavior, and it doesn't infer that something's going on in the cognition. It doesn't infer any kind of motivating force like a dissonance. Today, most psychologists accept that both theories are equally as valid and have use in their own domains. However, cognitive dissonance is still very popular, especially when people have very strongly held beliefs. You probably know many people that have these very strongly held beliefs, and in spite of any evidence to the contrary, they refuse to accept that evidence. What they do instead is change their attitude toward the evidence, and sometimes even towards science. If you know somebody like that, send them here and make them watch this video.